Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a simple Christmas poinsettia, and I'm going to be focusing on depth. So I'll show you an easy way to create depth in any painting. Let's get started. Alrighty, so I'm starting out with a 12 by 12 inch canvas. Got my husband Mark with me. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Hey there, everybody.
He's been in chat, so you can ask questions during this live stream while I'm painting. Welcome to everybody. Glad to have you with us tonight. All right, I am using a 12 by 12 inch canvas. As I said, I have painted it black, so I haven't done anything special, just painted it with carbon black and let it dry completely. So you're going to want some chalk or something to draw with. I find just regular school chalk works the best for me, but pastel pencils or something like that, just something water soluble that'll dissolve into the canvas will work. For your greenery, we're going to need a long flat, or you could use an angle brush for the long lines as well if you don't like using a liner brush. Also a round brush will be helpful, maybe a large flat and a filbert for some of the flower petals, and that'll probably do all that we need to do. If we need more brushes, I'll mention them as I grab them. I've also got a blender over here on my palette that I used to wipe off some paint, so let's go over our palette. Got carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, cadmium yellow light, green gold, sap green. I've got all these kind of that look like they're moving. These are all fluid acrylics of some sort, so they're not staying put very well. But since we're doing so many lines and more like brush strokey type of things, especially for the background, I figured having some fluid acrylics would help. If you don't have these particular colors, we can mix them. So green gold, sap green, phthalo green blue shade. This one's phthalo green yellow shade. My fluid acrylics was really, it dried up in the tube here, so I was having to scrape it out. This one is phthalo turquoise, phthalo blue green shade, ultramarine blue, Quinacridone Magenta, cadmium red medium, and cadmium red light, unbleached titanium and titanium white. I usually use pyrrole orange with my Quinacridone Magenta because this is on black and it's such a red flower. I'm going to use my cadmiums because those are more opaque, so they'll cover a little bit better than my pyrrole orange, which is a transparent color. Usually mix my red with my magenta and my orange, but not tonight. All right, so let's get going here. This is just a made-up poinsettia. I didn't have one that I was looking at. I made this for a fabric. Just kind of got a wild hair one day and decided to do it, and I liked it, and I thought, well, let's paint it. So this was a digital drawing that I did on my tablet, my iPad on Procreate. So, and actually created each section individually and put them all together. So there's a fabric that's got all kinds of different elements, and I created each element on a different layer, and that way I could move them around as I needed to and create the composition how I wanted to. So it made it really easy to do the fabric, and then once I did the fabric, I used it to just create a single motif that we'll be doing tonight. So all right, so our large flower is going to be kind of generally in this area here, taking up a pretty good amount of space, and then we're going to have offshoots sort of at the four corners, leaves coming off here, smaller leaves coming off here, different shaped. And mainly when I was doing this, I was just kind of trying to come up with some different shapes. So kind of more rounded leaves and more spiky leaves, and just trying to mix and match as much as I could. I think I'm going to make my flower a little bit smaller just so that I can fit more of my greenery elements. I'm doing some seed pods here and some blue. We'll have a pop of blue. Having some little white flowers up here. some wheat and more longer grasses. So I think my poinsettia is going to have to be kind of right in here somewhere. Just kind of doing just a general quick sketch. Leaf, leaf. This is just helping me to kind of place where I want my greenery to go and how far out I want it to go. So I'm going to bring it in pretty far. I'm pretty much going to cover this whole center, so I don't really need to draw my poinsettia at this point. I just really want to kind of know generally where my other elements are going so that I can kind of move my greenery around. So there'll be leaves here. And then there'll be flower, flower, flower here. So maybe move my leaves down here a little bit. Okay, so that'll work. It looks like a bunch of scribbles right now, but I'll be able to figure it out as I go, I think, hopefully. All right, that'll work. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of figure out what color I want for the background. Since it's so dark, we're probably going to want light-ish colors, mid-tones and lighter to show up. If we go too dark, we won't be able to see them, but we do need dark. And that was kind of the whole point about depth that I talked about at the beginning. You need three values generally to create depth. So you need a light, a mid-tone, and a dark. And we'll mix up some of those, especially in our poinsettia later. But right now for our background here, I'm going to start with kind of a mid-tone, and I think I'm going to use that to sort of just lay in some color back here. I've already got it on my brush, so I'm just going to use it. I'm going to go a little bit darker, so maybe add a little bit of burnt umber to my phthalo green yellow shade. And I'm just going to go around the outside of my flower area. I'm going to get rid of all of that I already had there. And I just want some dark green. Again, this is not going to show up much against this background because it's not enough of a contrast. It's too dark, right? Dark colors will appear darker on light items, but on a dark background, you're not going to really see any of that contrast. But our lighter colors are really going to pop off of this background, and that's why I like doing black for the background, because it's really dramatic and it's great for showing depth. All right, let's go ahead, and I think I'm going to switch to my 6 Angle Bright in the 6100 series here brush from Princeton. How are you doing, hon?
I'm doing good, and I'm glad that you're not giving anybody anxiety tonight by painting the background black first.
Yeah. Or painting around the
right, because usually when you do it and then you paint around it, people get all tense.
Right.
Like,
they
oh
don't
my
like
gosh,
seeing that.
what are we doing?
She's going to ruin it. All right, so I'm going to create a lighter tone now so that and this is really going to show up. This will show up really well. Let's go ahead and use that color that we just had, and we're just adding white to it. All right. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit more of the burnt umber, just to make it more of a sage green, a little bit more muted. Okay, that works. And looking at where I've got it in my picture, I've kind of got some of this light green down here. So I'm just going to set my brush down and pull towards me. I'm not moving my hand at all. I'm just making sure that that bladed edge of the brush is facing the direction that I'm pulling. And I'm just going to pull really quickly. And create some leafy green bits. Okay, there we go. Now, boom, that is like, woo, in your face, isn't it? And that's because we're putting this lighter color on our dark background here. I'm going to go ahead and go in farther than I think I need to because I'll have my poinsettia petals coming out, but I'm not exactly sure where they're going to start. And so if I had one that kind of went in right here, I wouldn't want that to be ending before it. So I'm going to go ahead and go in farther than I think I need to. Just start kind of in the middle and come out, and we'll do it over here. And actually this color is over the top of some of this on this side and a little bit on this side too. So let's go ahead and do some of our elements underneath over here. So, man, that green that I did, the first layer, you just can't see it at all. It's gone. It's crazy. All right, let's get that sap green.
But it's going to be important that it's there.
Yeah. It'll be slightly visible. So I've mixed this color that I've got in here with the sap green. So I've created a little bit lighter tone, and we'll use that as a different green. One of the other things that you can use to your advantage when you're doing a painting like this that you want to have, you know, lots of depth and interest is to have, you know, a color story. So like we've got a lot of green and red in this one, tiny pops of blue as our kind of like offset color. And but many different kinds of green, and so there's lots of different greens that we can use, and by using different greens we can tell a color story and change the interest of our painting really easily. So now we've got a little bit smaller leaves. I'm kind of picking a straight line here. Let's do another one. Kind of pick a straight line as my center point, and then just do leaves on either side. And then if I just did that, that would be fine, but it would look a little bit unnatural. So I'm going to kind of just do some middle ones. The ones that are coming straight at us are going to interrupt the ones on the sides. And there's sometimes they'll just look like a dot, and sometimes they'll look like lines that are coming straight down. So I can kind of tap a few of those in the middle, and now it's kind of broken that up so it doesn't look like we've got, you know, a plain flat leaf happening. All right, let's bring some more down here. Do the same thing here and over here. And again, kind of just turning my brush as I'm doing this so that the center is always kind of starting in the midpoint of that leaf. And that way kind of stays in place there. All right, let's do a little bit more over here. And so far we're kind of, these are all pretty close to the same value, but these are just a little bit darker than these lighter, this lighter green, sagey green color. So they'll go, your darker colors will recede and the lighter colors will look like they're coming out at us. So if we want to make that even more obvious, we can put these lighter colors on top of the darker ones. So I can go back in now with this one and put some of these leaves of this lighter green on top, and maybe even add a little bit more white to them so that they're even more bright. And just go back on top here, and now that is going to push this green one back. Now it's going to look like it's underneath because we've got this lighter color on top of it. Wouldn't be as noticeable if we used a darker color and put it on top of the a lighter color, if that makes sense. So it's more effective when you use a lighter color on top of the dark to create depth. Because generally things that are lighter are catching the light, you know, and they're the ones that are in front. The ones that are underneath and behind are generally shaded, and a little bit darker. So it's just kind of a natural phenomenon that happens. All right, so I'm going to add some of this lighter color to this one that I did before. And again, kind of overlap a little bit to this darker one, just to push it back a little bit and make sure that it looks like it's farther in the distance. And generally our lightest shade, we're not going to go quite as much of the lightest color. So I had that kind of mid-tone, or is still light, but the medium tone of this one. And then did my lighter color, and the lighter color I'm not doing as many. Okay. Let's go ahead, and I'm looking over here to see what's underneath, and over here there's this leafy thing that is like the farthest back that is underneath everything. So let's go ahead and do it first, and then we'll do this over here. I want to make sure that that stays wet though, so that I can use it when I get over there. So, all right, let me get some of that sap green, and I'm going to go darker now a little bit with it. So I'm going to get a little bit of burnt umber. If you don't have sap green, you can mix something similar with a phthalo green. Sap green has phthalo green in it, so phthalo green and burnt sienna, and then some yellow, and you'll get a sap green. So, but if you have green gold, you can use it and just add burnt sienna to it too. So let's go ahead and use this. I'm going to set my brush down and just kind of push it down to create my leaf. There. That's pretty dark. I'm not seeing much of that. So I'm going to get just a little bit of this lighter green from over here and add it. There we go. Now we'll be able to see that leaf a little bit better.
These strokes are kind of come from the homework. In
Yes. Yeah, this
Patreon
is
group.
right. Yeah, we just talked about I've got a beginner series going on, and we just talked about brush control with them last month, and this month we're talking about different techniques. So we'll be going over blending and different things. All right, so there we go. There's that leaf. And we'll just bring this down. Like I said, we don't want it to look like it's ending, so we'll just, you know, somewhere weird. We'll just bring it down in farther than we think we need to here. Okay, and then there's some lighter colors on top, but I'm going to have to let this dry before I can do any layering on top of it, otherwise it'll lift. So let's go ahead and do this little bit of greenery that's back here. And I'm going to use the phthalo green. And let's add the unbleached titanium to it. And we can use the phthalo green blue shade, that's fine. We'll just use the phthalo green blue shade and the unbleached titanium. That'll create a different green than what we've got going on anywhere else. And if it looks too bright, or, you know, like this looks a little bit too kind of saturated, then I can either make it more yellow or I can make it more dull. I could add a little bit of black to it to gray it out. Let's try that. Let's try adding just a little bit of black to it. We'll gray it out a little bit. I used a lot of gray greens in my online version here, so this green in particular here had a lot of gray in it. It's pretty close to this one, so if I want to make it more different, I'm going to add a little bit more of that phthalo blue-green shade. We'll see how this looks. It may not look too different from this one at first. I might add a little bit more yellow to it. So let's add a little bit of phthalo, or a little bit of yellow oxide. Try that. I don't want it as yellow as the green gold, or the sap green. Sap green has a lot of yellow. Okay, that'll work. You can see the difference. Just want it to be different. That's it. I'm gonna just push. There we go. I like it. All right. And I don't see this anywhere else, but I might use it again over here just so that it's in another place, you know. So maybe over here, we'll just use it over here and do another little bit. And I'm kind of just doing it a little bit differently than this one, just so that it has a little bit of contrast. Kind of pressing down as I'm tapping. Okay, I think that looks good. I might come out just a little bit more just because I'm not sure where my flower is going to be, so I don't want to cover all of it up when I do my flower. Okay, that looks good. Let's do a little bit of it up here, back here. There's a little bit of green back there. Okay. And then I think I can get my leaves in over this, around this next part. So I'm going to go ahead and do this over here, get this, and do my scared me. Thought it was a spider on my hand for a second. We've had rain, and when it rains, we have spiders come inside. So I've seen a lot of spiders this week.
Because they don't have raincoats.
They don't.
Oh, I should go get Mom and the babies, bring them in.
No, no.
No?
Mm-mm. Oh, man. We've got a mama spider that we've been watching. She's been sitting on one of our plants out. She's a really beautiful lynx spider, green. She blends in really well. She's an ambush spider, so she doesn't do a big web anywhere, which that always bugs me, you know, if they have a big web and, you know, gets, I don't know, I don't want to walk into a web. So she stays on her little plant and she doesn't bother anybody but the bugs that she grabs as they're coming to eat the flowers. Anyhow, she had babies, so.
They're so cute.
They're not cute at all, but. All right, so I made some more of this color because I ran out. And it's probably a little bit lighter than what the original color was. So let me add a little bit more of the phthalo green over here. Get a little bit deeper tone. So it's phthalo green and and burnt umber. And that was the main colors. Phthalo green yellow shade and burnt umber. Okay, there we go. So we got it there. And we're going to do our blue, and then we'll add some down there too. Okay. So far, so good. So let's go ahead and add our blue flowers that are coming down here. And this is where I'll kind of mix my three values of color, and this is where you'll see how important this can be. So we'll go ahead and do a ultramarine blue and phthalo blue mixture, and they're dark enough on their own that we can probably have this be our dark layer. So it honestly doesn't matter how dark your darkest layer is as long as you have 3 values of that color. Generally, you want them to be, your darkest color to be kind of in this range, and that way that it just gives you the closer that your darkest color is to black and your lightest color is to white, the more contrast and depth you're going to get. So if your lightest color is this and your mid-tone is this and your darkest color is this, you're not going to get a ton of contrast. There's not going to be a whole lot of depth. So I generally want my lightest color to be somewhere in this range and my darkest color to be, you know, somewhere in this range. And we can see that that is pretty close to this. And then, so our lightest color we're going to want here. So our mid-tone we're going to want to shoot for something in this range. So we're going to add white to this and see if we can get a mid-tone that is kind of right in the middle. It won't take a lot of white with these blues. And when you first start doing this, you can use a value scale like this. It can be a really handy little tool just to check, and that's going to be right here. If you hold it underneath the hole there when it disappears, so that's darker than it, right? It looks darker. There it looks lighter, or right about the same. So this is a good mid-tone. It's right there. So that'll be our mid-tone color. Scraping that up so that I get, and then we're just going to use what's left on my palette knife and get a pretty good glob of white. And I have 0 space on here to do this, so I'm sorry. This is hard to see. But we'll have our dark, medium, and light tone of our blue once I get this mixed. I don't know why I did so much white. But I can use this to add it into my greens. Highlights for my greens if I have leftover light blue. All right, so there's our light tone right there. And I can check it underneath, and there we go. It's kind of right in there. So I could probably go lighter still with it, but I think it'll be fine. Especially beyond this black, it's gonna look plenty light. Light enough. Okay. So I want to start with kind of a mid-tone and then go lighter and lighter, or darker and lighter. And if you want to, you can like double load, so save yourself a step. So I might go do my light and my dark together, or my mid-tone and my dark together. So I've got a little bit of the dark and a little bit of that mid-tone on my brush, figure out where my highlight side is going to be. So in this case, maybe my light's coming from over here, so my highlight will be on top of this, and I'm just going to dab it so that that light kind of shows up on top. Back and forth there. So I've already got some depth because I've got that dark and the mid-tone. I'm just using the 3/8 inch Willow's blender. If you don't have this, use a round brush, or you can even use your angle brush for this. Is fine. And okay, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and go in farther than I need to. I'm going to have leaves over this, but just in case any of that shows. All right, so wipe that off and then get my light color. And then again, as I said before, you don't need as much of the light color, so I'm just going to dab it a little bit more selectively. Just here and there. And kind of keeping it above the dark area. Leaving a little bit of space maybe here and there too. Some of the flowers will kind of be, there we go. Now we've got our dark, mid, and light tones, and we've got depth to our painting, to our flower here. Very easy. That's all there is to it. Honestly, that's the big secret. It's just three colors in the same family, or three values of the same color layered properly, and then you get depth. So it's pretty fun. And I could take it one step farther and glaze a dark color over the top of this. And I might do that, especially on some of this before I do my flowers. And you'll see how that will help push the values back. All right, so let's see. So I've got these, and these that have all of this has no depth to it yet. We kind of did a little bit of depth with these ones, but we need to add another value on there, at least one other value, if not two, to get good depth. So now that we've got our mid-tone on here, I can go a little bit darker with it, and I should be able to see the darker over the top if I keep it in the middle of that mid-tone. So you can see here I'm taking that sap green that I mixed with the burnt umber before. I had added the unbleached titanium to it, I think, or white, I can't remember, to it over here. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to probably zoom back or rewind, because I don't remember how I mixed this color.
I thought you were talking to me. I'm like zoom.
Or no,
Zoom
not
what?
zoom. No.
Rewind.
Sorry, rewind. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. So just adding a little bit. Now that's already helping so much. And then we're going to need our light version of this. So I'm just going to get some white, and you can use the unbleached titanium if you want, because that's already got like a little bit of yellow and burnt umber in it, or burnt sienna and yellow oxide. Mixed with white is kind of basically the unbleached titanium. So if you want to neutralize your color even more, you can use that. But I think this will do right here. It's going to be a good light color. I can check it on here if I need to. Well, it's kind of hard to tell. I can do it this way. I can hold it over my palette and see. It's probably kind of right in here, somewhere in here. So I'm going to tap in. And these will really show up. So you kind of have to really think and slow down. With the first ones, you're just kind of slapping it on with that first layer, just getting it on there, getting the shape. You're more kind of interested in the overall shape of the item, which is a flat. Shape is, the flat, like think of it as like a stencil of your outline of the item. With this layer, you're actually creating form, which is that three-dimensional look. So we're adding this highlight on here to pull our depth out of the painting, of our little leaves here. And just tapping back and forth to create our highlight. This might be a little bit light, but these will dry a little bit darker. So once it's dry, if it still looks too bright, I can always go back in, and like I said, I can glaze over this and darken up the whole thing, but I'll still be able to see those midtones. And that's kind of like the extra secret sauce, is if you overdo any of these and they get out of balance, then you may have, too much of your midtone or too much of the lighter color. As long as you can see the depth in it, you can darken it up if you need to when you do these highlights by just glazing it later. And glazing is just creating a transparent layer of dark color over the top. So you're just painting a dark transparent layer on top. Okay, there we go. Now we've got depth. Really amazing, huh? Doesn't take much. I'm going to use this color and create my line down the middle of these. And just kind of, I'm not going to make these look super realistic. I'm just going to kind of do a little
If it was
fun.
just that easy on me.
What, create depth?
Yeah.
I think you might have to read a few more books, right?
What's that word?
know.
I can't pronounce that word.
Exactly. Not really sure. Okay, so yellow oxide. So I want to make a little bit darker version of this. Yellow oxide and black, because that green had black in it and yellow oxide. And I'm going to just use that color and mix that in. Now this is going to be one where maybe the value shift is not going to be that obvious. Maybe go a little bit of that yellow oxide or a sap green and I'm using the sap green as a convenience color. It's like pre-mixed colors like this are just called convenience colors because they just speed up the process. But you can mix your sap green again with phthalo green and burnt sienna and yellow. So you don't have to have sap green, but it's helpful here. And then we'll just get some white and add it. And add some white. And if you want it really, obvious where your light source is, you could keep your lighter colors more to one side, and put your darker colors only on the other side, and really emphasize the light source that way. But I'm not too concerned about it on this one. I'm just kind of trying to get a little bit of depth, and I'm not really worried about it being the light source being really prominent in any way. Okay, there we go. Easy as that. Let's go ahead and put our light source on this one. Get some white, add it here. And then now that we've got this on here, we can go ahead and add this color over here. Push all of that back. Again, our light color on top of the darker is going to push everything to back anyways, so this works really well, having this lighter color here. I'm getting some white. There we go. Okay. I think we're getting there. Let's go ahead and add a few more. Let's go get some green gold and just add a few more layers over here. Just want to get a few little layers sort of in between in case we've got some open spaces that need something going on. Maybe get a little bit of white, a little bit of this lighter color with my green gold. Here we go. Also creating yet another green here. So this is much more yellow, heavy yellow, leaning green.
Okay, we need to copyright that name.
Heavy yellow, leaning green.
Yep, that's our new paint color.
Okay, so there we go. I think that's good. Most of that will be covered up. We probably only see just little bits of it, but it'll be nice to have it back there. All right, so let's switch to a brush that'll give us a little bit more control to do some smaller leaves and some smaller grasses and things, or flowers, starting to do some flowers and things, or seed pods and flowers. All right, so I want to do these tall, spiky things back here. What?
Is there flowers on this channel?
It's shocking.
Wow. About as rare as a tank.
Okay.
It has been a few weeks, though.
Yeah. It has, I know. It's been going through withdrawals. I'm going to mix my Phthalo green and my Sap Green and just make a, this is the Phthalo Green Blue shade. So if you don't have it, you could use Phthalo Blue and just add it to your Phthalo Green, or the Sap Green there. So just mixing another green. That's the whole point, is just having like different greens here. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just something a little bit different. And I'm just going to create some little lines and some offshoots for some flowers to go.
And what brush is that?
This is a 2-liner.
Grazie.
And I'm using this very fluid paint so that these lines are going on really smoothly, really easily. Okay, I think that's good. I'm just kind of doing a few long stems. You can't really see them very much, but we'll make that more visible by adding a little bit of white here. And I'll just go back over my lines, or if you don't want to have to do them twice, you can just do them with a lighter color than I did. I thought this was going to show up a little bit better, but it was a little bit dark. So again, you can do this before you do the light green also if you want, if you're worried about having it show. I'm just going to go across because I made that a little bit thick. Okay. Let's go ahead and I'm going to add just a few of this color kind of behind here, and then get my lighter color from before and do a few lines over the top. You can see how that broke up on me. It didn't go as far as I wanted it to because it was too thick. So I'm using the heavy body acrylic here, and I need to add water to it for it to show up. Might be able to get some of that. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now it's going to show up. Nice. Okay, now it's just kind of blended those two together. All right. I think I'm going to switch to a little bit shorter round. It'll give me a little bit more control. So let's get a 2/0 round here. And we'll do our little flower buds here. So I'm going to get the white.
Got a question. We got a second?
Yep. Let's do it. Can you use mixing white to lighten the shades of green? Yes, you can. Yeah, mixing white's great. Mixing white is just zinc white and titanium white. It is a more subtle mix, so you'll have to add more of it to get more obvious shift color in the color, but it's great. Yeah. All right, so just going to kind of find the end of some of these and just do some little dabby brush strokes here to create some little leafy, or not leafy, but little petals, flower petals. I don't know what kind of flowers these are, but we're just making it up.
There you go.
You could do this part first if you want, you know, to kind of control where they're going a little bit more. and then add your green stems to them. And because this is black and we're using white on top, you can see that some of that black is kind of showing through in places. So it's creating our depth for us without having to add other colors to this. And I'm probably not going to do anything but just add some brighter white on top of this and let this first layer be our mid and dark tone on this these white flowers. Let's go ahead and do another one right here. All right, that's good. I was just creating kind of a general fan shape there. And then to finish, I'm going to get some more of that green, maybe add a little bit more of that white to it, and come up underneath the white and just dab a couple brush strokes there to finish off the bud, make it attached to the stem. Okay, there we go. This style in particular, what I was kind of going for, if you've ever seen the Rifle Book Club, this is kind of the sort of style of illustration style that I'm going for this painting. It's a little bit, it's not realistic, it's more illustrative, more whimsical, I'm calling it in my title. So this is the kind of stuff that you would see on a, like I said, fabric or pajamas or something like that, you know, at Christmas time, or a notebook or something, wrapping paper, you know. So
I like it.
and yeah. Well, you know, I'm kind of branching out into licensing in recent years, and so I'm trying to expand, you know, my design style to include more marketable designs, which realistic does, you know, there's a place for it for sure, but you definitely see more of this style in products on the shelves. So just trying to add that to my repertoire there. Okay. Let's go ahead and add some of the leaves. So I think I'm going to try, actually, I think I'm just going to get a smaller, trying to decide what brush I want. I feel like I want either a round brush or a Filbert. This one might be good. We'll do the 4 round. Okay. So let's do our kind of teal color leaves and these long oak brown leaves that are really kind of the unbleached titanium, basically, color. Actually, I have some Titan Buff, so I might try using that. Titan Buff in the fluid paint. Now I don't have to try to water down the heavy body acrylics for this part. Okay, so let's do our long leaves. Here I'm going to set my brush down and do my stem. Do a couple of little stems and try to tuck them into my greenery here, since I did this kind of out of order. And I'm going to set my brush down and just push and then pull it to a point, and I can do another there. Okay. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to try to tuck this in a little bit better. I'll wipe that off. Kind of started a little thick. Just going to tuck it in thinner so that it goes just down in and sort of disappears into that greenery. There. And do another one here. Okay, kind of creating movement with these two. These are kind of curving down here. These ones are curving up. This one is creating this kind of curved line of white here that'll draw the eye in this way, and then these are kind of curving that way. And then I'll do some leaves here, covering down here and here, having these curving a little bit up. Just kind of trying to create movement all over. Okay, so that looks pretty good, I think. Might have wanted to center those a little bit more, but I think they're all right. Let's go ahead and do these kind of weird little, let me think. What do I want to do? Let's go ahead and continue using this color and add a little bit of my yellow oxide to it. Maybe a little bit of burnt sienna. And create a wheat color. And do my white flowers that are going to come across here. And I want them to sort of overlap. I might bring my green over the top right here. So I want my flower to be kind of right in here, I think. So I'm just going to kind of start at the end of the flower and do these little lines here where I want my flower to be. And then do my little stem out to it. Okay. And then, how are we doing on time? Okay, we're all right. Do some kind of wheat looking little leafy bits, just for something a little different. Maybe bring some down here. It's kind of the same as the same deal as the pine needles, but a little bit shorter and a little bit stubbier leaves. Okay. All right, looks good. And we'll add some more golden tones to this in our leaves, but we'll just let them dry for now. And let's use our I think I'm going to switch to a 2 flat, just a little bit bigger brush. And we'll do some more teal now. I'm going to kind of go into some more teal leaves. These are sort of teal, but I'm going to go really, really teal here. And I'm going to kind of clean off my palette.
So we got the bonus video this weekend.
Yes, we do.
Nice.
Yep.
Turn myself off there.
Oh, you turned yourself off?
Yeah.
Very good. Yep, we've got the bonus video. We'll be talking about different techniques. So I'll be showing blending and other stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah. Blending, dry brushing, scumbling, all that stuff.
While it is,
Stippling.
while it is marketed as a beginner series, we're learning stuff in there. Like last time we talked about having a wet paint versus a wet brush.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
was something that, well, I know I had never heard of, but then there were some others in there too that had never realized that concept.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
I'm just kind of going slower and breaking down some really basic things that I tend to kind of gloss over in the tutorials because I'm trying to get through a lesson and get it done. And so I don't necessarily always stop and explain in real minute detail what I'm doing and how I'm holding the brush and all of that. So we went over how to hold the brush and what the right angle is for it and how much water to add to your paint and when to add water and when not to and that kind of thing. So
And some sweet camera angles set up.
we did. We had extra camera angles. Yep. We had an extra camera right here set up on the palette so that we could get really ultra close up of how I was holding the brush and things like that.
Yeah,
So,
it was awesome.
yeah. Yeah. Just a little bit of perk. We're kind of changing our tier structure up at the end of this year, beginning of next year, for the $5 tier. So we're adding this beginner's lessons to our, right now, all of our, the $5 tier includes traceables and the bonus videos that we used to do once a month. But now instead of the bonus videos, we're doing this series.
Yeah,
So
that's great. People love it.
it's good. All right.
Back to our regularly scheduled program.
All right, so I'm going to use the turquoise and the phthalo green yellow shade, or phthalo green blue shade here that I have, which turquoise is phthalo green yellow shade and phthalo blue. The phthalos go in order the way I have them on the palette. You've got phthalo green yellow shade, phthalo green blue shade, turquoise, and phthalo blue. If you have phthalo green yellow shade and phthalo blue, you can mix these other two that are in between. It's just, they're basically, parts of the same colors. So you've got phthalo green PG7 and phthalo blue, which is PG15-3, I think, or PB50, anyhow, the pigments. And then the other two pigments are components of those two. So, all right, so this will be our dark shade here, is that phthalo blue, phthalo green, and blue shade and turquoise. So we're just kind of going with the kind of a dark turquoisey green. I'm going to add burnt sienna to it, burnt sienna. That will neutralize it just a little bit and make it deeper and more rich and not as circus color. Won't be, as like, whew, in your face green. It'll be a little bit more natural. Still teal. And then to get our two other values, our mid and light tones, I'm just going to kind of scoop some of that up and add some white. So we'll start out with our mid tone. There we go. And get some more white. And do a light tone. And sometimes I like to add a little bit of yellow to my light tone, especially with greens, because they can tend to go very kind of weird when you add white. So having a little bit of yellow in the lightest tone can help brighten up that highlight color and make it not so dead looking. Okay, so that looks good. That'll give me our three values to work with. And I'm going to do my leaves are over here. I'm going to do them in kind of a medium dark. And let's go ahead and just set my brush down on its corner and pull. We'll go ahead and do the whole line here. And each of these leaves, I'm just going to set my brush down on its corner and pull towards that line. As long as it's a little bit different than our background colors, should be able to see this just fine. Set it down, pull, lift. Okay, I think we're good. Let's go ahead and do kind of that eucalyptus in this same tone over on this side. And for this, I'm going to kind of just set my brush down and wiggle it and lift it. And let's do our kind of midline and do the same thing. Just set my brush down and sort of wiggle it a little bit, create a little bit bigger leaves.
Got an interesting question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a subject that you don't like painting?
That I don't like painting? Yeah, I don't really do portraits. I've tried. They don't appeal to me. They're too, well, I think they're a specialty all on their own, you know. It takes years of study to get good at it, and I just don't feel the urge to paint them, you know. So I haven't put the time in, you know. When I was in college, I liked drawing people, and for a while I would draw, you know, draw people, but I never really got into painting them. And when, you know, I've tried it a few times, I don't mind it. I just, whenever I do it, it's just not really something I really enjoy that much. So
It doesn't have the same effect as flowers.
no. Mm-mm. Doesn't make my heart sing, you know. Okay, let's do the same thing over here.
Where is that on your palette? Or on your painting? Kind of the middle, bottom.
Oh, something fell off of the
Okay.
scraper
Right.
when I opened the scraper up. All right. So again, kind of just setting my brush down and sort of twisting it side to side to get that big leaf. Maybe I'll do a little bit lighter. I want it to show up against this background leaves, so just make sure that it's, you know, darker. We've got this light color in the background in this leaf, so this should cover well enough. Okay. And then I think I'll put some of the spiky colors in front of this too, just a little bit to give it some depth. But let's go ahead and add our lighter colors on here. While this is wet, I'm just going to kind of lightly brush through, very lightly here, trying to get some of my lighter color to come off. You can see it's just kind of dusting it with some color.
At least you didn't say tanks are your least favorite.
No.
And there's hope.
Honestly, as much as I paint landscapes, I don't really love landscapes either that much. But yeah, I mean, before I did YouTube, I would get on a kick and I would just paint. I must have painted, I don't even know how many nest paintings. Probably in the 100, at least 100, maybe more nest paintings. I think I counted them one time and it was over 100. In a 2 or 3 year period. That's pretty much all I painted was nests. And then I went on to butterflies for a while and did nothing but butterflies. And then on big canvases, like 30 by 40, 30 by 30 canvases. And then some flowers, did a few flowers. I didn't do flowers until kind of later. I did fields of flowers, poppies mostly. And then, yeah. So I kind of, left to my own devices, I get really hyper fixated right now. All I want to paint is mushrooms. And that's probably all I would do if I didn't have a YouTube channel and didn't have people not wanting to see just mushrooms from me, wanting other things. So.
This week on Just Mushrooms.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's just me, though. Not that I don't love painting other things. I do. I just, when I'm left to my own devices, I kind of get fixated on certain subjects. Okay, so I'm just going to use the tip. I've loaded this lighter color. This one, I don't know that I'm going to do a whole lot other than just this with it. I don't know that I'm going to add. Not everything has to be, fully fleshed out in 3D. And for this one, I think I'm going to do the dark with the stem. So I'll get this darkest color and use that for the stem. But, you gotta, if you're going to put the time in to do it, you gotta love it, because it takes it out of you, if you're trying to do, and that's why I stopped doing commissions a while back, because I was doing things that other people wanted, and it was killing me. It was killing my soul. I hated it so much sometimes, It was just like, ugh. I kept doing, if I was going to have to do one more name tile, I was going to turn in my brushes, So it was like, So lettering, there's another thing. Don't really care for it anymore. Used to love it, but my eyesight is not what it used to be, and it's harder for me now to see what I'm doing. So the older I get, the more impressionist style painting is really appealing, because I don't have to put as much effort into the realism of the whole thing. All right, so getting my burnt sienna here. I think I'm going to use that as my darker color on these here. And I'm just going to go over my previous layer and just leave a little bit of that lighter color showing. There's my mid-tone. And then we need our highlight. So we're going to get my white. And we just need to go lighter than our base tone. So it doesn't really matter what our base tone was, as long as our finish is a little bit lighter. Probably don't need that much right here. Going back in with my mid-tone here, because I kind of got too much of that light color there. Okay, so we'll see. If that doesn't dry darker, I'll probably come back in and glaze it. I'm going to get a little bit of yellow for these leaves and go over them with my yellow oxide. I'm adding the base color to my yellow oxide, which my base color was basically unbleached titanium, right? Or burnt buff titanium. So I'm just adding yellow oxide to that here, so I can get my leaves. This leaf got away from me. Let me make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And then get my burnt umber, burnt sienna. How are we doing on time? I need to get with my flower here soon. Got a lot of elements to this, so wasn't sure exactly how long it was going to take me. Mark was laying bets. We weren't sure if this was going to be a good Tuesday night one or not. It's debatable.
It's fine this week.
I'm going slow here, so I've been kind of going slow. I can speed up. Been trying to explain, but I think you guys got it now, so. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a few last minute little spikies over the top here, just to hide the leaves. Alright, so let's do our white flowers over here. So I'm going to use the same brush, this two. And let's just kind of lay in some petals here. And I'm not going to go as perfect as my picture there. They kind of, you know, the digital drawing. I'm going to try to make them look a little bit more realistic. And the nice thing is I can kind of leave some of that background peeking through here. So as I push to the middle, I can kind of pull some of that paint off so that it's creating my dark shadow in the middle there. Let's go and do another one right here on the top of that. Make sure my leaves are dry, obviously, before I do it. But that looks good. And let's see, where do I want my third one? I don't know, I might wait to do my third one. Might not need it. Or I might do it right here. Do a little bit. Oopsie, I'm picking up that green. That worked, so that's good. Okay, that's good enough. All right. Let's do our little berries down here. I'm going to get the green, gold, and white. Go really neon green here with this one. There's going to be red berries through here, so I want to go kind of mid area here, I think. Let's go ahead and just do the berries because that'll be easier to place than the stems, and we'll make the stems out to them. Okay. There we go. Looks good. And let's do our little two seed pods here. Just set my brush down, kind of pull down. Do my stem. And kind of just do little dabbies at the top there. I'm just going to pull through, and you can see how that it's creating that depth just by pulling through. that wet paint. Okay. All right, I'm going to go switch to my bigger brush again. I have other berries and things to add, but I need to get my poinsettia started so that it has time to dry before we add our upper layers to it. So I'm going to start with our kind of mid darkish layer first, and just going to lay this red out all in the center here. And just kind of gradually get it a little bit bigger and bigger until I decide how big I can make it. Okay, so yeah, let's make it right in there. I'm going to get a little bit of black, add that to my red. I've got magenta and cadmium red medium here, and then a little bit of the black. Black is a good color for red because black has slight blue undertones. All blacks pretty much do, except for like a bone black or a black that's meant to be brownish undertones, but most of the carbon black and Mars black have bluish undertones. That's why when you mix it with yellow, it makes it green. So it's great for adding to red. Black is as a darkener. You can also add purple or blue, or burnt umber, but I feel like black usually to me makes the richest darks for red. Okay, so I need to figure out where, I think I'm going to put my petal right here so that I can go on either side of this. And find my center, so just mark out your center. And that will be where all the petals are pointing to. It's important to know that, otherwise you can have petals kind of going in weird directions. All right, so these should all go to that. And I'm just going to go all the way around and create petals. And I might leave a pretty good amount of space in between some of them so that I can do my in-between petals sticking out a little bit too. So, and don't be afraid of covering up your greens. That's why we did them so far in, just so that we'd have room for a poinsettia. Try to get this as covered as you can. If your red is not opaque enough, you may have to do 2 or 3 layers. So just try to get it as, really should be doing these, actually these in-between ones shorter. So I might make these outer ones longer. And then do the inner ones so that they'll be on top of those outer ones, if that makes sense. So these ones, every other be a little bit longer. It'll make sense once I get the rest of it going. So do all the way around and long, short, long, short. Let's see here, this one I kind of did facing this way, so I'm going to have to kind of turn it out a little bit so that it is facing a little bit more toward the center where I want it to be facing. I'm running out of color here. Okay. So we'll do two more right here and here, and then we'll do another big one right here. Very good. Right, I think that looks good. That'll get us there. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, so it actually, I feel like, looks better if it's not perfectly perfect, you know, perfectly symmetrical all the way around. So I deliberately make it not perfect because it always looks better. Okay, I think that looks good. We'll let that dry and let's do our berries here and things. Let's first though, I think I'm just going to take a wet paper towel and wipe off my background. Oops, that was not dry. That was not dry.
And some of the foreground.
What?
I said, and some of the foreground.
Where?
Like you said, you're wiping out the background.
Oh,
I
yeah.
said, and some of the foreground.
Yeah. Yes, I did. Okay. These white ones are pretty juicy, so I'm going to stay away from them, and I can tell that one's still a little bit wet too, so we'll just get off what we can for now. And come back for those later. Okay. Good enough. So let's touch up that. Whoops. That one there. Okay. I may make these a little bit wider since they got covered somewhat, but I think it's all right. Let's go ahead and get some green gold and a little bit of white and go a little bit darker than previous. And I'm going to touch up these since they did kind of disappear so much. And they went on pretty translucently for whatever reason. So the green gold's pretty transparent, so I maybe didn't have enough white in the mixture to make it go on opaque. So just trying to get a little bit more coverage there. That looks good. Maybe get a little bit of that darker green gold and put some lines through here. And then let's get some of the light white. And dab on some highlights. There we go. Okay. And let's go ahead and add some white highlights to these too. Dab in, just kind of dabbing on top. And then I can get some dark, get some of that sap green maybe, and just come in and add a little nose to all of them. Boop. There we go. Cute. I might even add a little bit of that sap green just so this one has some depth right there. some of the yellow oxide in this color and add it on here. Side. It's easier, like if I wasn't doing this on camera, I would be turning my canvas because this is, since it's facing away from me and it's so far away and I don't want to, I've already stuck my hand in the red a couple of times. You know, it'd be easier if I could just lay my hand down to do that. So, and I think over here I want some yellow oxide. So I'm gonna add some yellow oxide over the top of this, kind of watery, just so that it goes on, tints that a little bit more gold in that area. Looks good. All right, we're getting there. Let's do our blueberries over here. So we got our dark and mid-tone. And let's go ahead and do our lines out. And just do some rough circles. If it doesn't cover all the way, you can use a little bit more white for this and then come back in. Kind of doing them different sizes too. Okay, then get my dark and just going kind of at the bottom of them. Making sure I've got little stems to them. Okay, and then in the middle I'm going to get a little bit of black and my dark blue and just dab on some openings. You know, berries have those kind of spiky bits around the openings, some of them, so not making them perfectly smooth there. And then get my lighter color. I'm just going to kind of come around and give a little bit of a highlight on my berries. Okay, that's good. And getting a little teal and giving them a couple of little leaves. Okay. And then let's do our large seed pod up here. Two of them. I kind of wish that I'd brought those blueberries down a little bit more. I might do another one back down here just to lead the eye down because I feel like it needs it. Highlight one side, dark on the other, and then our dark center. Okay. There we go. How are we doing on time? Okay, got a half hour. I think we're all right.
Oh, yeah. We're
fine. Okay. Gonna do a little stem there. I don't think it's gonna matter that much because it's kind of, there's so much going on here. Let me get a little bit of this stem color here and just blend in where that meets. I probably wanted a little bit darker there, but that's okay. I think that's dry enough now. I can add another layer of my white. Just gonna get pure white here if I can get some untainted. And just do at the tips of these flowers. Okay, there we go. All right, and then getting the black. And I'm just going to do some little crisscrossy lines here in the centers, kind of all leading out from the center. You can use a smaller brush if you want. This brush is not doing a great job. But then I'm going to use the corner of it and dot. That white is picking up. Might wait a little bit longer than I did because my dots over here got picked up by the white and they didn't go on as dots. I have to redo those. Or you could use a black that's not so thick that makes better dots. Okay, there we go. Yeah, not loving that at all. So I don't know. We'll see. I might be able to get some of that off actually. I don't like how much it didn't do exactly what I wanted to do there. It wasn't as subtle as I wanted it to be, so I'm just gonna try again. Uh-oh, I just got my, I think I got my sleeve in the paint and got some down low. Got something, yep, I got my sleeve in it. That's been on there a while. Yep, it sure has, because it was dry on my sleeve. It's like as soon as I saw that it was dry on my sleeve, I was like, well, I didn't either. It was off camera.
Oh yeah, it was slid off camera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thankfully that's black, so no big deal.
And that's why you don't use a black canvas.
Yes,
You
exactly.
paint it black so you can always paint it over.
Yep. Yeah, because
the
if I had a black canvas and tried to paint over that, then that section would be shiny.
Yep.
Or slightly different color than the black gesso. Yeah. Okay. Wow, that is just not wanting to cover. That black is really pushing back, making the whole flower gray. The only way to get it off of there is just to wipe it, I think. Which I don't like doing because it kind of smears onto other parts of the canvas where you don't want that color, but as long as the background's dry, it shouldn't do anything. Then we get it off. My goodness, this is being difficult. Okay.
When flowers go wild.
Yeah, they are. They're just being really
Being ornery.
ornery. That's a good word for them. Ornery. Okay, let's try that again. We'll do our petals. We'll let them dry all the way this time before I do the black part. This one didn't do too bad, but these two were too wet, and the black just kind of smeared with the white and did weird stuff. So we'll just let them dry all the way. Okay. I do want a little bit of the dark down in the middle, though. I'm gonna kind of tap in some gray because my petals went on so dark that they, or so white that I didn't have that depth that I had with this one where it streaked through. I'm going to use some gray, tap in some gray over the top of my black, wherever I have a dot. Okay, so that's closer to what I want it to look like when we're done. We'll get the other two there. All right, so back to the blue. Hopefully I've still got some blue left here. Let's do these two seed pods here. Do one here and one kind of here. Just making them different sizes. Yeah, that works. Some stem, and then there's a little thickness right where it attaches, and then little bits coming out. These are poppy stems, or poppy seed pods. They're not blue, but we're doing them blue. Ours are blue. Okay, we'll let that dry. And if you want to do it all neutral, you could do these all neutral. You don't have to do like this part and this part. All of this can be, the colors can be changed. So that's the nice thing about, you know, these kind of component type things. I can go in and, you know, like we could do these a dark brown. If we wanted everything really neutral, we could do our poinsettia in a white. So everything can be adjusted to however, what colors, whatever color scheme you want. All right, let's go ahead and start adding some detail to our poinsettias. So I'm going to get my, what is this color?
Red.
Yes, my red. My light red, cadmium red, that's the one. Cadmium red light and cadmium red medium here. And I'm going to go just on the tips of these and try to highlight. I think I need a different brush. Let's try that with this one. We'll see. Well, I can use this one for the, let's do this. Let's use the bigger angle brush here for the, to separate out these leaves. So I have a petal here. And here. Just gonna kind of pull lines down from the tips. So I'm kind of going on either side to create the petal. I want them all to kind of meet sort of in the middle. So just like that. And this will do two things. It'll highlight the tips. So I'm kind of going the brightest color along the tips. It'll create some lines in the poinsettia, which is veins, I guess. And it'll separate out the background leaves from the foreground leaves. And these are leaves, actually. The flower part is in the middle. Okay, so I didn't do enough. So let's do this one as another foreground petal. There we go. Okay, then I'm going to use my smaller brush to do the background ones. I do want highlight on them, but they're not going to go down as far. So just a little bit on the tips. Just kind of pull down and lift pretty quickly. We're just trying to create a little depth there. Got And if it needs a second coat before you do this, be sure to do that first. So like if there's a lot of the background colors showing through, you may need it depends on the kind of paint you're using. If you're using a professional quality paint, you shouldn't have to, but if you're using a student quality paint, you may need 2 coats on your red. Sometimes they just don't cover very well. Okay, there we go. Yeah, all right. So just by starting out with that darker color, we've already got a pretty good amount of depth. But I think I'm going to go in the opposite direction now with a darker red. And that way when we do our last layer of reds, red petals, we'll have darkness, depth. Okay, so I'm going to get the magenta and black, and then just a little bit of the cadmium red. This will just be a different tone of red and a little bit darker. And I'm going to go opposite from the center out. Wipe most of it out. I don't want it too much, but I just want to. I'm kind of getting in that V shape right there too, a little bit, where that background petal is. I could have done this color first. Might have been better, but I kind of want to have a little bit of it on top of this lighter color petal too, so it's probably just as well to do it this way. Okay, so dark. And keeping the dark part sort of toward the middle of the petal. And again, kind of underneath these ones that are behind. Okay, and if you've got anywhere like here where it just doesn't look really good, we can go back in with our lighter color over the top of that a little bit and blend it back out. Like if you got a little too much of the dark color over. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and do our final layer of red. And I'm going to get cadmium red light and cadmium medium. So basically the same colors I was using before for this part. And maybe a little bit more of the cadmium red light this time. And we'll just do a few petals. We don't have to do all the way around if you don't want to. I'm going pretty thick with the paint here so that it'll cover. And right there, I think be good. Okay. Then I'm going to get my white. And make go on either side. And I'm doing this while this is wet, but you can wait if you need to. It's should work either way. Just make sure you can see I'm loading it up pretty thick with paint though, so kind of have to have your brush pretty saturated with color. I'm going to do some of it on the tips of the back here. I think I'm going to switch to that smaller brush just so I have a little bit more control for this final layer back here. Fitzy is sighing already, so it must be close to the 2-hour mark. Yes, it is. He always starts, my dog, Fitzpickle, always starts sighing when we're doing these live streams. As soon as we get the 2-hour mark, he's like, it's over. I'm so ready for cuddles. Pretty sure it'd be a lot more fun to be cuddling right now. Okay. This one we had 4 layers of values because we had the mid-tone. We had this 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see them on the palette. All right. Yeah. He is sacked out. Nobody got any sleep last night because we had thunderstorms all night, and he was. What was that? What was that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
We're gonna die.
I think. Did you hear that, Mom? Oh my God. What was that? All night long. It's like, stop it. Settle down. He gets to sleep on our bed when we have thunderstorms too, so nobody gets any sleep. It's not good. We spoil him.
Well, it's either that or he sits in his little
Thing and
cage
cries.
thing and,
Yeah,
and cries
exactly.
and scrapes on the side.
Right.
Okay. So
Yeah, we're awake either way.
right, we're not sleeping either
No.
way.
Nobody's sleeping either way.
Yeah, we were talking about it before the show. It's like, he'll go outside in the thunder
Yeah,
while it's booming and
perfectly
lightning
fine.
and all that stuff.
Ignore it. Doesn't
Ignore it.
matter.
Just goes around the yard like nothing's happening.
Right.
Comes inside, it's like, we're going to die.
Do you hear that?
It's going to get us.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. I don't know. Okay. Oops, I was doing stuff down there and wasn't on camera there. Okay. We're almost there. We're going to do a few more. Oh, we got the red berries still to do. Okay, we need to get this going. So I've got burnt umber and sap green here, and I'm going to do my center part of the poinsettia flower. Right there. Maybe a little bit bigger. Like that. Okay. We'll just let that dry. I guess we could go without the red berries, but I like the red berries. It adds to the whole look. I'll do cadmium red, medium. And then white. See how it's just so see-through? We need white to make it more opaque. Okay. There are a lot of them in this thing. I think I'm gonna make a fewer. I don't think we need as many as I put. I think I'm going to put them in 3 different places instead of putting all of them over there. I think I'm going to put some out on this side too. Yeah, I think that works. Maybe do a couple more back here, but want it to look like an arrow. If I put another one right here, it'll look like an arrow. I don't want to make a triangle shape. So I think I might put one out here. Maybe do one here. Maybe another one right here. Okay, I think that's good. I can get my darker magenta blackish red here and go in and add our darker shading. Now I may have to let that dry a little bit more. We'll see if I can get it on there opaquely. If it doesn't go on opaque, then I'll have to wait, but it's going on okay. It's not lifting too much of that original coat. But I'll wait for the highlights. Okay, and I actually don't mind it being kind of a lighter peachy red too. It's kind of nice to have a little bit different tone than my poinsettia. Okay, I also have these kind of random stars in my original drawing. I don't know if I'm going to add those or not. I do think I'll add splatters though. Yeah. Did we have some bets on splatters?
No, but I don't think anybody's surprised.
Nobody's surprised?
No.
Yeah. I'm going to use my small round here. Get my dark blue. Do my lines up through my seed pods with that. And do my little dots kind of at the base of the seed pods, and then get my white-ish color and come back in with my highlight and do stripes in between my dark to add my highlights. Okay. Nice. I think I need more highlights on my berries down here too, so I'm going to get some more of that light blue and dab that on those. Okay. Let's go ahead and do the black centers of these. All right, I'm not loving these, but it's, you know, sometimes when you paint it, it doesn't look as good as it does digitally. I don't know why, but sometimes it doesn't translate and vice versa, so it's fine. I'm going to get a little bit of black in my red. We'll do the centers of these berries. the red berries, that dark red. I'm just kind of laying my brush down sideways to get those oval shapes. And then I guess I need to give them stems, huh? So they need, let's do light colored. Let's do some light green. Maybe get some of this sap green color here. We'll see. Let's see what shows up. I think that's good enough. It doesn't have to be. It can kind of, you know, go into what's already there. There we go. There we go. Kind of little curving lines with the light white. Kind of making them sort of go on the same stems too. Cute. I'm getting some white and my minty green. I'll just do a few little highlights on this part around my white flowers. Maybe there we go. And I can get my unbleached titanium will actually probably be a better color to use than my white with my red because it's already got that yellow in it, yellow oxide, so it'll be a little bit more neutral highlight color. I'm just going to go back in and add just one more layer of really brightish highlights on a few of these tips. Make them stand out a bit. Like right there, it kind of, I think I lifted something, so I'm just gonna. And if you want to be really, you know, more like realistic about it, you can really make the petals taper and make the center darker. Like I'm kind of going much more stylized, but I do have this lesson in my videos. So you could do a more realistic version of a poinsettia instead of this more stylized version if you want to. Again, I'm making it more like, you know, illustrative style here. So this is the intention. If you don't like this style, I have other lessons on more realistic poinsettias that you can substitute, you know, use the same kind of techniques, but just refine them a little bit, make them a little bit less artistically rendered and more realistically rendered. And just dabbing around some highlights on my berries with my red, light red. Okay. And then center of my flower here. How are we doing? Oh, we're right at time. Okay, very good. Very good. So I'm going to use this same green gold mixture and go on the top of all of my centers of these green here. Add my And then there are like little red dots in there too, in some places. I don't know if it's going to let me do it right now because these are so wet. But you can use that light red and also kind of dab around. And then add little white dots too. Again, not sure it's going to let me right now. These are fresh. There we go. It's doing it a little bit. Okay. Then I think, you know, if you want to, you can go back in with your brighter red, your cadmium red medium, and brighten up the berries. You know, just give them another layer of red, and you can see they'll be a lot brighter there. So might do that once they fully dry. Okay. Anything I missed? I'm not seeing anything. I think I got them all, but there's a lot here, so.
I'm checking it out. This looks like the only thing is the stars, but you said you weren't going to add those in,
I'm
right?
not sure if I'm going to add the stars or not. That kind of almost takes it a little too far to the whimsical. I'm not sure. I want to go that far. I'm going to go in with a bright highlight of red, just white-ish color on my red berries. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if anything, I could go back in and add a few more. Like, I probably could have brought my greenery out a little farther. So I could go back in if I wanted to and, like, add a little bit more of my green leaves coming out a little farther. Just to shape it out, you know, since so much of that got covered when I added my red. I just covered my leaf.
But I think it's been a good lesson in layering for sure, on the macro level and the micro level.
Right.
You got to work from all the back parts first and then come out to the poinsettia.
How to, you know, build some depth.
Right. And then within each individual leaf or petal or flower, you had a layer on those.
Right.
Yeah, pretty good.
Thanks, son.
You did all right.
Thanks. I'm going to add in.
Let's go put up the Christmas tree.
Depth. What?
Let's go put up the Christmas tree.
I'm about ready. We were just talking about it. Like when we usually do it before Thanksgiving, just so that if it doesn't go up before Thanksgiving, it's like almost too late. Because it's like Christmas, there's so much going on. I just don't have energy for it once December starts.
Well,
so if I don't get it up and decorated, my house decorated for Christmas, that Thanksgiving weekend, it's like,
so
what's the point?
You basically finish doing the dishes on Thanksgiving and you wake up the next morning, it's Christmas.
Exactly.
What happened?
Yeah, that's exactly right, around our house at least. Yeah, poor Thanksgiving. I love pumpkins and stuff, but it's like the last few years since we've started doing it this way, just because I'm working full time. When you know, the kids went to school and I wasn't working on such a tight schedule, I had more time for decorating, and I would spend a lot of the time that I'm working on stuff for you guys, I would spend messing around with my house and decorating and doing all kinds of stuff. And now it's like I don't have that time anymore. So it's like when I know I'm going to be off for Thanksgiving, I got to do my decorating then. And otherwise, if I'm back to work, when I'm working full time, I just don't have time. to mess with it.
As I'm sure.
Yeah, don't have time to
Yeah.
mess with it.
Yeah. And now we're to the point of like, now we get it why people just stop putting up Christmas trees and stuff.
I know. Well,
Oh,
when we oh, look what I just did. How did I do that? Yeah, when Mark's mom and dad started giving away their ornaments, I was like, why would you ever do that? But then I get it. I think they're about our age. All the kids gone, and
Oh, now we get it.
yeah, now I get it. It's like, I love it though. I do love it. I love decorating. I just don't have as much time for it anymore. But that's okay because I get to do fun stuff like this with you guys. So it's a trade-off. It's a good trade-off. Good times. All right, I'm gonna get a little bit of a darker color, and I'm gonna darken up this right here. Just a little. I was talking about glazing it, but I didn't glaze it, so I'm just gonna go in and darken up these leaves just a little bit. Okay, a little bit more wheatish color, and let's splatter. So I think I'm gonna choose. I think I'm gonna choose my. I don't think I want white because white will make it look like snow, which I don't necessarily want it to be like snow. Probably do blue. Blue might be good. Yeah, let's do blue. We've got all this light blue left over here. So we'll just use that. Add some water to it. Get it nice and thin. Should be able to tap just really easily for it to come off the palette or my fan brush here. It already kind of looks like snow, doesn't it? Anyways, because the light. Don't know if it looks like blue. Okay. There we go. Yeah, that added a lot to it, I think. Very good. And one last thing that I didn't do that I probably might have wanted to do is add that dark red to the center here. I mean, I added the dark green, but, you know, just to make that center look a little bit more in depth, you could do that too. But anyhow, hope you guys like this. Try it. Let me see, share on my socials. I've got links down in the description for where you can share if you paint along with me and do this, and also where to buy materials and how to join us on Patreon. If you're interested in that, it's patreon.com/AngelaFineArt, and yep, there it is. Got dozens and dozens of tutorials just for patrons, which are a little bit more in depth, and also got that beginner series that I was talking about that we'll be working on this Saturday with folks. They're submitting questions right now, so if you have hot questions that you need answered about your acrylic painting journey, and especially about techniques, having trouble, that is the lesson, because I will be going in depth, answering questions, and showing you how to work through those problems. So, and just basic techniques that you should know if you want to pursue acrylic painting, you know, just the kind of things that I do in my lessons, but maybe don't stop to do slowly in my lessons, if that makes sense. So breaking it down, and yeah, hope you guys join us for that, and thank you so much for watching tonight. We'll see you next time. Bye.